Alright, piss and vinegar day 10, back and rear delts. So, I'm starting off some pull-ups. Pull-ups are quite a skill-based movement, or maybe not skill-based, but they require a certain level of central nervous system efficiency. So like many of my workouts, the more technical movements I actually do a bit of volume on, not because it's going to give me better muscular gains, but because it's going to make me stronger quicker, because I'm trying to relearn the movements. I haven't done pull-ups until recently for quite a bit. I was never really a pull-up fan. I'm not really a pull-up fan still, as far as my muscle connection goes and building muscle goes. But it is impressive to be able to do heavy weighted chin-ups and pull-ups. So I'm doing them, and I'm really good at chin-ups. Funnily enough, I can probably do twice the amount of weight on a chin-up. But pull-ups are more lat-driven, and I'm very bicep dominant, so not super good at these. So I'm trying to train them up. So I do 3 sets of 4, and then I do a single set to failure where I get 8, I think. So I try to get half the amount of reps in my volume sets compared to what I'm going to then get in my failure set. So this went perfectly. And then I do a drop set with chin-ups. I think it's best to do drop sets with an easier variation. That way you can get more reps. So if I was to immediately drop this and go for another set of chin-ups, pull-ups rather, I'd probably only get 2 or 3 reps. Whereas with a chin-up, because I'm quite a bit stronger with the chin-up, I end up getting 4 or 5 reps. So switch over to chin-ups. My grip's giving out more so than my lats, but that's okay because then the next variation I do is actually very good for my lats. And I actually feel chin-ups in my lats more too. But I have a chin-up and a pull-up day, so I only got like 3 or 4 reps there actually. But anyway, then I move on to this variation, which I actually do feel in my lats quite a lot, especially my upper lats. This is like a Franco Colombo variation, super wide grip pull-ups, and I'm using quite heavy band resistance here because now my lats are pretty much fried. So yeah, if you haven't tried this before, you should give this a go because you can get super wide grip here. This way, if you have bicep dominance like me, it really takes the biceps out of the movement and just leverages the lats. And then I move on to a chest supported row. I love this movement. This is fucking sick. I started doing these recently, and they are better than having trying to do rows where you are stabilizing with your lower back. This way you get it to totally just rest your lower back and totally focus on contracting your lats, rhomboids, rear delts, etc. And you get to stretch heaps out at the bottom. Like I'm doing like 20 kilos each here. If I was to do a barbell row, I'd be looking at about 100 kilos for the same amount of reps, or maybe 90 kilos for the same amount of reps. So I'm half as strong on this movement, and I feel it far better. And the contraction at the top, man, I felt like I was going to fucking cramp up at some point. Like, the contraction was so brutal that I was like, genuinely felt like my lats were about to cramp up. And they probably will later today, because my lats are very fucked up right now. And then I do a drop set with 13 kilos, like piss poor weight. Fuck all weight at all. 13 kilos ain't shit. I bicep curl this. I bicep curl more than this, but and with this specific leverages, you are fully bent over, you're fully rested with your chest on the bench. You don't need much weight. And then I make it even lower to target even more of the lower lats and kind of bring my elbows further backwards just to slightly hit the muscles from a different angle. But mainly just doing this to get a drop set. And unlike with the unlike the chest supported machine row, because you're using dumbbells, you can move your arms through space. They're not set in space, so you can get this better contraction. I prefer that over the actual machine row itself. It just works out perfectly. Now I'm doing a low row underhand grip with a bent over back, so I can kind of contract my lower lats a bit better because I'm having a hard time really getting my lower lats contracted at the moment. I'm just trying out different movements every few weeks just to see what can contract my lower lats better. And I have terrible lower lats insertions, so I'm trying to get them as big as possible to overcompensate. Yeah, and this is actually pretty brutal, but I only really feel the lower lats when I get to the absolute top contraction. When I'm stretching out, I just feel it in the upper lats. So don't know if I'm gonna keep that movement. I might switch it out, but we'll see. Now I'm doing rear delt raises with the cables. I really like these. I do all my rear delt variations with bent elbows. You know, people will always say keep your elbows straight. Well, when I keep my elbows straight, I feel it much more in my rotator cuffs, and I feel kind of nerve impingements, and it just feels clunky. So I keep my elbows bent, and that way I get a far, far better contraction. I feel it far more when I do it this way. So it's in between, you know, kind of a rear delt fly and a face pull. It's like half half. And then I do a drop set, get a few more reps. I do some force reps, and then I do a drop set, as you can see. And I like these over the dumbbells because it's easier to drop set. Plate loaded machines are always far easier to do drop sets than with plate sorry, using pin loaded machines are much easier to do drop sets on than plate loaded machines. So that's good. And then also I do a unilateral drop set. Man, I'm burping so much. My apologies. I do a drop set with, it's not really a drop set because it's the same amount of weight as I just did. But when you do unilateral movements, you can get away with more weight because you're focusing on one arm at a time. You have more kind of strength in a unilateral movement than you do in a bilateral movement. So it's a uh, variation difficulty drop set, not so much a weight drop set. And I actually really like this. This is the first time I did this. This was just intrinsic. I was like, let me just give this a go. I just randomly popped in my head and I gave this a go, and it actually felt really good because one, I could do this. I could force rep myself because it's unilateral. And then two, because I got more range of motion, I was feeling more of a stretch throughout the rear delt and better contraction because of the thoracic spine positioning kind of onto the side rather than straight forward. So these felt really good. And then I do another drop set with face pulls because face pulls will train rhomboids and rear delts. But if you pre-exhaust them with flies, now they primarily just become a rear delt movement. And my rhomboids get the work from the rows. Also, I have a hard time training my rhomboids because when I do, I get kind of a nerve impingement in between my scapula, and I'm fucked for like 2 weeks. So I try to actively avoid training my rhomboids as much as I can, like with unilateral rows or anything, because it's the worst fucking numbing pain that I get for weeks on end, and I hate it. So you don't see much rhomboid training from me, and that's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow for more piss and vinegar.